Welcome to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. This podcast was created for the boomer woman leaving corporate, and now you're looking to reinvent yourself, become an author, an entrepreneur, a podcaster. Well, each episode will leave you with clarity. You will come away with the yes, I can and yes, I will reinvent myself mindset. So come on, let's do this. I'm your host, Margo Lovett. This episode is sponsored by WOMEL. More than a leadership magazine, WOMEL is a resource that helps women grow their business, mentoring, attentive support, and services. To learn more about WOMEL services and the magazine, go to their website. Go to WOMELLE.com or give them a call at 702-747-3054. Leadership, influence, build your business, do and have it all with WOMEL. Contact them today. Well, hello, everybody. Margo Lovett here. Her business, her voice, her conversation. Well, it's just you and me today. Here we are at the top of November 2019, and I usually don't timestamp anything, but we are well into becoming a 3-year-old podcast, and that is noteworthy and to be celebrated. So, season 13, episode number 1. Here we are up on the doorstep of being 3 years old. I thank you, first of all, for listening each and every week. And I so need you to share each and every episode, because it is my earnest belief that there are women, and because of the business model, I have to niche it down to corporate women coming out of corporate that want to reinvent themselves, become authors, entrepreneurs, and podcasters. But it is my gut belief that reinvention is across the board, and men should listen to this show, and millennials, if we're going to put up some age brackets here. This show is for anybody that wants to change, but you'll always hear me say that it's set up for the boomer woman coming out of corporate who wants to reinvent herself. So this month, all of November, I am going to take and elaborate on one of the thoughts that I wrote in my first book, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention, how I went from game show hopping to international show host, author, and speaker in 1 year. My very first book, it was a real nail biter for me, but as I look back and I read through it again, what I said, my thoughts on reinvention, they still stand. So I thought all of November, let me break everything down. And between the time that I wrote the book in 2017 up until here we are, November of 2019, what additional thoughts do I have on what I wrote? So we are going to start out this week with purpose, because to me, that's where everything begins. And you always hear about people talking about my purpose, how I found my purpose. People make a living out of helping others find their purpose. I'm going to tell you about my purpose and how I found it and how I know that I own it. And I have to own it every day. First of all, let me tell you a little story. My sister and I were blessed to be able, this was 20 years ago. My sister and I were blessed to be able to purchase a home. The Lord opened up the door. We ran through it, and we purchased a home built from the ground up. So one Saturday, we're sitting there sipping coffee at the kitchen table, and we're just talking like we usually do. And she brings it up about a article that she read in a magazine about it wasn't podcasting, but becoming a DJ, broadcasting, that type of thing. And I said, man, Thomasine, I read the same thing. It's over here in Hollywood. We are in Southern California, but this was over in Hollywood. I said, let's go ahead and go over there and let's make an appointment. Let's go over and see what they're talking about. If we don't like what we hear, hey, we can jump in our car and come on back home. We don't have to put up any money. Let's just go and check it out. So we set up an appointment where there's a room full of people there, and they're talking about the school and the future of broadcast, and I was intrigued, and so was Thomasine, you know. So there was a kind of a interview type of process that we had to go through, and they sent everybody home to find out whether or not you would be accepted into the program. So we go home thinking, okay, this was more than we thought. But we both got a phone call and said that, we were accepted into the program and welcome aboard. So the next week, and I mean, it was like start right now, start real fast. So we got started that following week, and the rest is history for me. My sister lasted 2 months and she said, I don't want to do it, you know. But for me, I found my voice. I found a way to communicate and to get, at that time, I just wanted to play the music of the unsigned artist. I figured if you are bodacious enough to sell your stuff out of the trunk of a car, I want to help people find out who you are. And if you are top, I don't care if we're listening to you everywhere. If your stuff is good, I want to help get it out. I came to broadcasting with that mindset. And I always wanted to tell people about the background of that artist. Let everybody know that everybody didn't come up the easy way. Most people came up with much sacrifice, and it's just that a business. Music is a business. So I continued that ride up that 101 to Hollywood for a year by myself, and I'm in the car going and anticipating what I'm going to learn and be able to practice. And I fell in love with it, but I still had my day job. So I would do a broadcast and while I had my job. And this is something that I always tell people to do. Put your feet in the water and make sure it's something that you want to do, because a lot of people don't get past 7 shows, because podcasting is not that easy. It really, really isn't if you're going to do it correctly. But I tell you that story that lets you know that I've been podcasting off and on. I even had an AM show here locally for 2 years. I love the thing of podcasting and broadcasting, getting people's message out, my message out. And my message to this day is that if I did it, you can also. So that's the backstory on me finding my purpose and making a move along those lines. Didn't always stick with it. There were times when those corporate waters were demanding and choppy, and I just didn't have the time to dedicate to doing a podcast or a terrestrial radio show. There was just not enough time. So a couple of times I dropped it. I just, went black and everything was up on the bookshelf, for a year, close to 2 years. But something happened and I left corporate after 26 years. And after, hopping around, going to game shows, that seed that was in me, it never died. And it started shouting really, really loud. And I'm so glad that it did, because here I am today, 3 years into actually building a podcast that is worthy of monetization. It wasn't built up on a hobby. It was built to be monetized. And in that monetization, I'm able to get out, I'm able to broadcast to more people who you are, what you do. And that's totally thrilling. That is a game changer for me. So now you know about my backstory, how I found my purpose and how I acted up on it. Let me read what I wrote in my book, On Purpose. 3 paragraphs, but they still hold true to this day. It's on page 17. If you're following in my book, Margo's Thoughts on Reinvention, page 17. Purpose. Concerning my purpose, which led to what I would reinvent to and become, I believe that purpose once visited plants a seed with determined roots that immediately go down deep. Purpose is beautiful, delicate, and graceful, with the root system of a desert cactus. Purpose, what's once visited, refuses to die because it knows that it must live. It will drop down low or soar high on into the sun to survive, but it refuses to die. Purpose is like a muscle. If you use it, it will work. It'll be a guidance and expectation, and it will astound you. You also have the choice to stunt purpose's growth or even abort its life. You will have to be negative and abusive towards it because it will not return the behavior. I have found that purpose just wants to be your purpose. Had my mind and body not started to break down, I would have stayed on my job. Without a doubt, the birth of her business, her voice, her conversation would have been delayed. Perhaps I would have missed the window for serving the reinvented boomer female. And that's what I wrote about purpose. So now I ask you, what about your purpose? Is that seed that has been planted? And if you're over 30 years old, there is a seed that has been planted. What are you doing about it? What is it saying to you, first of all? If you're working a day job, it's still going to yell out to you, and you still can do something about it. If it's just trying to find its own voice, get quiet and let it have its voice. Let it sing to you. Let it talk to you. Let it ring to you. Don't be afraid of it. Don't stifle or muzzle it thinking that I don't have enough time. I don't know enough. I don't have enough money to make this real. It's not true. Let purpose have its way, because you've heard a million times over that the world is waiting for you. You are the prayer, the answer to somebody's prayer. Over these last 3 years, I found it to be so. I just have one other story before I close out. I was at a Black Women's Network breakfast a couple weeks ago, and I was walking. I had to go to the bathroom, and I was hurrying up, walking back to the table because I didn't want to miss anything. Maria Dowd was about to speak. And there was a woman that stopped me, and she said, Margo. And I looked, and I didn't want to act as though I didn't know who I didn't recognize her, but I really didn't. And she said, Margo Lovett. And I stood there in my tracks, and I racked my brain trying to figure out, who is this lady? Where do I know her from? And I thought, I don't recognize her face. I don't recognize her voice. Who is she? So I threw out a name thinking maybe it was someone I hadn't seen in a long time. And maybe some things happened, and her look just kind of changed. And she said, no. And then she said, you don't know who I am. I said, I am so sorry, but I really don't. If you tell me the story, if you tell me who you are, then I'll probably end up yelling, oh, yeah. Well, she told me the story about her sons coming to an event that I hosted. And they are entrepreneurs. And she told me about how she told them then, you need to get with Margo Lovett. Get on her podcast so that you can get the word out about your juices. And when she told me that story, then yes, it clicked and I remembered. And you know why that was so very important? I hadn't seen that woman. It was that was 4 years ago, 3 years. Yeah, that was a good 3 years ago, a good solid 3 years ago. And it came at a time when I was looking for confirmation that I'm on the right track. You know, when the money's not coming in like you think that it should, when you move from this huge network like I did, where they're telling me last month you had 2 million downloads and streams, but you're feeling the pull to leave, and you do, and you're turning around and you're wondering, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you want to make sure that you did the right thing. And I am Christian. I prayed, I said, Lord, give me a sign that this thing that you've given me, I didn't just ball it up in a wad of mess and I'm throwing it on the ground. When that woman spoke to me the way she did, recognized me, saw the potential from the very beginning, what this show is able to do and who we're able to reach and how we are able to make a difference. Let me tell you, there was no shame to my game. I took it as confirmation, as a sign. Girl, you are doing the thing. Stay on the track. Don't you jump off that horse. You just keep going. And I stood there and I boohooed like a baby. I boohooed on her shoulder like a baby. I was so grateful for the confirmation. So when you are moving in your purpose, you know, that seed, you adhere to that seed, you water it, you grow it, you nurture it, you put fertilizer on it, you work that thing, you put that muscle is getting the nutrition that it needs. It is going to yield a harvest. Maybe not in 2 years, maybe not in 3 years, maybe 5 years. I'm looking at people who have been watering their purpose for 7, 8 years, and finally a wellspring jumps up that just is totally amazing. And that is my expectation for her business, her voice, her conversation. Yeah, we're going to keep this work going most definitely. And I'm looking for the wellspringing, the breakthrough for what we're positioned to do, what we're purposed to do, what we are missioned to do. So I just want to share that purpose. Write down your why for those days that you can visit when you are wondering, am I on the right track? Why am I doing this? You'll want to pick that up again. When the money's not coming in like you thought it was going to come in, when that big idea didn't seem to be a big idea to everybody else, when you are wondering about how am I going to make the bills one more month. When you turn entrepreneur and you are wondering, how am I going to leverage this marketing opportunity that somebody's given me? I know that I need to go down this trail, but Lord, show me where the money is so that I can do it, so that I can water and invest in this business. All of that's going to come. That's a part of following your purpose if you're called to be a podcaster, a entrepreneur. It's just part of the journey. And reinventing yourself as a boomer, oh man, that's double edged scary. But if that's your position, if that's what you're supposed to do, then you have to do it. But I just want to share the story of my purpose, where it was born, how it was born, how I made a move on it. The story in between, the dash, as some people say, is much too long. But do know that I love podcasting and I have learned how to leverage this industry. And there are so many opportunities. Everybody doesn't have to be a podcaster. There are so many other ways you can get your story out and be positioned and ready for when that big call comes. That's the thing about it. You move on your purpose because a big call, a big opportunity is going to come your way if you are consistent, but it can't happen if you're not consistent. And consistency definitely is not going to happen if you don't start. So that's all I wanted to say today. Um, Celebrate your purpose, celebrate your beginning, working out your purpose, and we'll dig deeper because once you get started, there are some things that are attached to purpose that I'm going to touch upon, as I say, all of November. All right. You want a copy of my book, go over to my website, margolovett.com. And it's the book, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention. There's another one over there that it gives you, it's a collaborative work with some amazing women, how we are actually changing the globe. And I don't know why that book title escapes me right now, but the shorter version of my reinvention is there. Next week, I'm going to come before you and talk about listening to your gut. Okay? So, as you listen to this episode again, I encourage you to get your favorite goblet out, get your favorite teacup out, get whatever feels good in your hand, get it out. Think about your purpose. Write some notes down. First of all, write down what your purpose is. Write down your why. And seriously think about how you are going to make it become real, or how you're even going to elaborate on it. We are in November. You still have time to do some course correction. You have some time to do some deep soul searching. I know that we are in the holidays, but you know what? Take some me time. Take some self-care time. Grab that glass of water. Grab that glass of lemonade, get that hot tea out, get that cup of coffee out, and it's just you, your thoughts, a good book, the podcast, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation, whatever you need. Get out the Bible, whatever you need to help you be all that you're supposed to be in your purpose. Give yourself permission to pay attention to it. Okay? Walk with me through this thing of purpose, and walk with me through my thoughts and revelations. I can only talk about my journey, but I know that there are nuggets there that you are going to be able to glean, and I offer them up to you. All right? Share this out. I'm not the only one that's into reinvention. Next week, I'm even going to share my definition of reinvention, and I have a freebie for you. Yes, I have something free. If you own a Kindle, I have something free that I'm going to give away to people. So you want to tune in. All right. And I guess that's it. Lest I ramble. I'm Margo Lovett, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Thanks so much for listening. I want to thank you for listening to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Couple of things that I want you to do right now. Go to my website, pick up a copy of Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention, how I went from game show hopping to international show host, author, and speaker in 1 year. Number 2, please freely listen to each and every episode. Share them out with your family, friends, the men in your lives. And then number 3, get in contact with me, one of the experts that have been on the show, because I want to make sure that you reinvent yourself. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode here on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation.